I suppose that as long as we live, Stevie Wonder will call me Aries, but only when it's appropriate, like at night after a show at a group gathering in somebody's hotel space. There was a game that the members of Wonder Love seemed to set up with Stevie. The door to a back room was closed. Stevie would have a seat beyond the room's double beds, and the group members would sit along the walls and on the beds quietly, holding conversations with the people near them, waiting. To a near silence, I opened the door, an unsuspecting party seeker, and threw a freezing rope that fell on the shoulders of the occupants. I saw Stevie in a straight-back chair, leaning toward me with a half smile. There was an empty second in a room full of expectation, and then Stevie pulled himself erect and shouted, "Aries!" And everybody laughed and clapped and looked at me like a pickpocket with his hand caught in a mousetrap. I never knew how he did that, and I never asked him because I always thought that I would figure it out. And it wasn't as though I gave up there, threw my hands up in disgust, and vowed to change my aftershave. I was not born on April 1st, 30 years before this get-together for the future amusement of Wonder Love. I got caught because somebody whispered my name, and I knew Stevie could hear a fly pissing on a piece of cotton down the block. Just wait until next time, I thought. The next time was less than 2 weeks later, a similar situation. It was after a concert, and all the band and crew rooms were on the one hotel. I wasn't sure that things were arranged, and I was directed toward the back of the suite by a grinning Calvin. Calvin was his brother. I nodded my understanding, and taking no chances, I tipped with rubber soles on carpet up to a door that I inspected with suspicion. I had a plan. With a quick flick of the wrist, I twisted my way in and put a finger against my lip to the group as I shut the door behind me. My expression said, "Nobody breathe." Stevie was stunned. He'd been quick, and he knew it. He was sitting up straight, and his head was rotating like a gyroscope. I was waiting for breathers, but then, with his face to the ceiling, he grinned my way and shouted, "Aries!" I don't know what to tell you about that. It was probably the time I should have asked him, but how he knew it was me. And after a while, because I started to feel like a guy waiting backstage for a magician to ask him about his performance, there was no telling, and I shouldn't be asking. I took a glass of punch somebody offered and a seat on the bed next to Stevie, clapping him on the shoulders. The room had resumed the party's volume, music and teasing, and guys and girls who had become close friends on the road or who had maintained relationships over the hundreds of highways that were telling each other secrets. Stevie was humming something and tapping the table in front of him like a keyboard. Malcolm Cecil always had stories about incidents that took place when Stevie was recording, like a game they used to play in the hallways at the record plant in LA. The hallway was about 10 feet wide, and Stevie would stand in the middle of the floor, about 4 feet of space on either side. The object of the game was to get by Stevie on one side or the other without him catching you. According to Malcolm, it couldn't be done. I would have suspected that Malcolm, practitioner of Tai Chi, would certainly have perfected a silent step among the pirouettes and paces I'd seen him go through, but no matter. Evidently, Stevie was a master of a superior art, ears like an eagle. When you spent time with Stevie, the extraordinary became commonplace. The unusual was unremarkable, and the previously overwhelming could be overlooked. The things that made him seem extraordinary to me were not confined to the stage. In fact, they had nothing to do with this stage presence. But I'd also been going out more and more to catch earlier bits of his show, well before he called me out to join him. I liked the opening. I liked the strength of it, the sudden flashes of light and color of movement. I'm sure I got a big kick as anyone when he was captured by the single spotlight like a pendulum with dreads from side to side, cranking Wonder Love into Sir Duke. I was also pulled from the from the reverie of my dressing room to catch the transition that took place in the middle of the set when the band members seemed to evaporate like mist and Stevie was left alone at the keyboards. There was something unbelievably poignant about the isolation. The darkness of the giant arena was filled with silent memories and lately became a magic carpet he rolled out for us to ride. I still wanted to believe that I was a better lyricist, but there was mounting evidence to the contrary on an album of surgical sensitivity called Hotter Than July. I left my dressing room during the solo section of Stevie's set to listen to lyrics that were more than something to say while playing piano. If you happen to notice a man leaning at an awkward angle in the shadows of the tunnel connecting us to privacy, it was me, eavesdropping on the chill and lonely certainty of lately, buy this book.